Small businesses have the opportunity to learn from professionals and from each other, and bringing those perspectives together is a very important part of Inside the Vault, Enterprise Bank's new podcast series. Welcome to Inside the Vault. As we end Season 1 with our 8th episode, we want to take a break from some of the more heavy commentary on political and economic issues and talk a little bit about who we are. As we come up on the Independence Day, 4th of July holiday, a lot of us are thinking about getting together with family and friends. So we wanted to give you a little bit of an insight into our family here at Enterprise Bank. In today's episode, we're going to see and hear from a cross-section of our staff who will tell some stories, share some of their thoughts and experiences about why Enterprise Bank is such a fun and interesting place to work. With that in mind, we're also going to show you some of what makes us unique, both from a physical venue perspective as well as the personalities that make up our Enterprise Bank family.
Since today's episode is more visual in nature than our prior, please visit our YouTube channel to see the full video of today's podcast episode. Welcome to the Sestra Gymnasium. The gym here at Enterprise Bank is an area where employees can relieve stress, shed a few holiday pounds, or just enjoy each other's company before or after work or during their lunch hour. We're also fortunate enough within the bank to have our own daycare center, known as the Jack Henry Daycare. Interestingly enough, Jack Henry is not only the name of the software system that runs the core operations of the bank, but is also the name of the grandson of our president and CEO. This venue came in very handy during COVID when many school-age children were forced to be away from their normal school. And in a previous expansion of the main bank building several years ago, we added to our facilities a state-of-the-art auditorium and training center for use by both our staff and by the small business community to hold events, seminars, and training activities. Along with the auditorium, we have a full-service commercial kitchen, complete with pop machines, popcorn machines, and even ice cream machines. We're able to have outside caterers provide meals to attendees at outside training events. We also use the kitchen frequently for in-house staff-prepared breakfasts and lunches. Most notably, every quarter, the bank has a cybersecurity breakfast where those who have clicked on dangerous links or phishing attempts made by our own IT staff have to cook breakfast for the remainder of the staff. And what started many years ago as a one single-story former Allison Park Post Office has grown into a larger bank venue which more than doubled in size in recent years and is now expanding even further into a full campus with the current renovation of what we call the Alpha Building, where our subsidiary entities will eventually be housed and will provide state-of-the-art office space as well as a small business incubator. Just outside the Sestra Gymnasium, on the wall of the main corridor in the rear of our bank building, is the famous, or should I say infamous, Enterprise Bank Wall of Shame. In these pictures, you'll see our staff members doing unique things, and I promise you, each one of these photos has a funny and sometimes embarrassing story behind it for our staff. So let's hear from some of those folks on this famous Wall of Shame as to what their stories are behind their favorite photo.
So my favorite Wall of Shame photo is a group of us toasting after the Pittsburgh Marathon. We started the corporate marathon run, a group of us probably in 2015, and we had two teams actually entered, and we all met after the race and toasted our victory. We've probably run that now since the beginning of 15, and at least two teams on an annual basis. So it's been a good opportunity and a good group.
It's my favorite photo in a way that I need to clarify the photo. There is a picture on the Wall of Shame that just says Lori's Way on it. And it's a picture of a wedding dress and a tux. We tend to argue at the senior management level about what the dress code should be here at Enterprise Bank. I tend to lean toward a more sophisticated look where I have arguments with our CEO and president, and actually maybe one or two other board members about being a little more casual, business casual. So we had a event here at the bank which allowed the staff members to vote on whether or not we continued to have a more lenient dress code or we had a little bit more of a dressier dress code. And I did lose in that vote, which is where the picture comes from, because there were t-shirts that were worn, and that is one of the t-shirts. And it has, on one side of the t-shirt was a dressier couple, and on the flip side was a more casual dress. Now, to clarify, I wasn't and never have been looking for people to wear wedding dresses and tuxedos. I was just looking for an atmosphere with less jeans. So I feel like it was spun a little bit differently than it should have been, but I will accept the fact, as a sore loser, that I did lose. The staff in itself appreciates the more casual dress, and I think that I have learned to accept that that's the way it's going to be.
And one of the most famous things that Enterprise Bank is known for, and quite honestly, one of the things that got me interested in working here many years ago, is that we have a draft beer tap in our president and CEO's office, where anytime after normal working hours, we can get together, in moderation, of course, and have a few beers with friends and family here at the bank to end the day. In terms of Enterprise Bank's involvement in community banking in general, we also had a very noteworthy accomplishment this last year, where our Chief Operating Officer, Lori Sestra, became the first female chair of the Pennsylvania Association of Community Bankers, or PACB for short.
So I was lucky enough to get introduced to the Pennsylvania Association of Community Bankers through Chuck Lai whenever I started back at the bank when I became the Chief Operating Officer. Chuck at the time was the chairman of the organization and was very passionate about its mission. PACB's mission was really advocating for community banking, and he was adamant as we started growing through him mentoring me through a succession planning that we maintain a very close relationship with the organization and that we stay active and involved. So I was lucky enough to be involved with the organization at the beginning. I was on the board for 4 years and then was asked to join the executive committee, which is how you move up the chairs in order to become the chairperson of the organization. So when I was asked to be on that committee, I obviously had to get approval from Chuck and from the board here. And I was lucky enough that the board members here also saw the benefits of being active with the organization, that they were very supportive. So I was nominated onto the executive committee and moved up the chairs. And this past year, in September of 2020, I became the chairperson of the organization. And I was lucky enough to be the very first woman to ever chair the organization. It was a great honor to take on that position. There's a lot of conversations in the country at this point about, diversity and inclusion and the organizations being stronger because of different perspectives. And this organization, it was important to the organization that we start branching out by looking deeper and wider into banks and start fostering younger people, people of different age groups, people of different colors, people of different religions, just people with different perspectives. And it's an honor for me to be the first woman to to be able to chair the organization in 2021 and continue to foster the mission of the organization through my perspective. So I'm really excited about the fact that I've been given this opportunity. The advocacy of being able to advocate for the industry of community banking is very important to me. I've learned a lot by being introduced into this organization and the importance of us advocating for certain regulations and advocating for educational opportunities for banks. It's an amazing organization to be involved in, and I'm honored to do it.
And now let's hear from a few of our staff members about their fondest memories of working here at Enterprise Bank and about the culture we've tried to develop.
My name is Larry Kunkel. I'm a senior accountant here at Enterprise Bank, and I've worked here for about 3.5 years now.
My name is Graham Schaller. I've been with the bank since 2018. I started as a relationship manager assistant, and in May of this past year, I was promoted to relationship manager. We've known each other since spring of 2015. We went to college together, so it would have been the spring semester of my freshman year and the spring semester of your sophomore year. Yeah. I think the best thing about working together is probably all of the comedic relief that everybody else in the bank gets from, Larry and I working in the same vicinity. I'm not gonna lie, we're a power duo here when it comes to the comedy world, so the jokes abound and the laughter that ensues is just blissful.
So the only other job I've had was an internship. It was at a very small accounting firm in Pittsburgh. There were 2 partners, 2 staff accountants, 1 managing accountant, and me. And coming to Enterprise Bank, it's almost as though the executives here are more available than the upper management at such a small firm. And it was very surprising to me that the president here would make time to have a conversation with me about not even work-related things, just what I like and what I want to do and how I see my future here.
The thing that I like most about working at the bank is that the business model is very different than what I've seen in the rest of the finance industry. Here we prioritize relationship level business, meaning that we truly work with our clients, and that's not always the case in banking and other parts of the industry. And we have a very good group of people here who aren't afraid to do what's right and best for our clients rather than what's convenient. So we're very much concerned with helping our clients be successful, not meet quotas.
My name is Brittany Tanini. I started in June of 2020 as a CSR, and I was recently promoted to operations supervisor. What I like most about working here is how approachable everyone is and how willing to help everyone is. There's no divide in position, so anybody will be willing to help you no matter what they do.
One of my favorite Enterprise Bank stories goes back to the day that I was interviewed, and it kind of shows you the culture of the bank, that it's still the same after 21 years. When I came in for my second interview, I interviewed with about 8 people. The first 2 was somebody from marketing, a relationship manager. Then the second interview was with the receptionist. Then we went on to, I was interviewed by one of the CSRs. The CSR I was replacing. And then I was also interviewed by the operations manager. And the last part of my interview was with Tom Nunley, who was relationship manager on the board of directors and one of the original founders of the bank. And when he came in to do my interview, he said, "Follow me." And I went through the hall, we went to the very end of the building, and we went out the back door. And I thought for sure my interview was over and I was done. But Tom took me back to the gazebo that we have here at the bank, and the interview with Tom was to get to know me and I could get to know him. He asked about my family, about my husband, my children, what my hobbies were, what I like to do, and then he proceeded to fill me in about his family. So from that day forward, I could tell that the bank was all about family and making their employees feel comfortable, not just having a working knowledge of the bank.
I started at Enterprise Bank in February of 1999 as a relationship manager assistant. Within a few years, I was promoted to a relationship manager, and I left the bank a few years after for personal reasons, family to be exact, and I had an opportunity to come back to Pittsburgh for a short period of time. My kids at that point were under the age of 3. I had 3 kids actually under the age of 3, and I needed some flexibility and I needed a job. So I came back to Enterprise Bank begging, I'd like to say. Chuck Lai at the time was still the president and CEO as he is now, and I said I will do anything because I need a job. He opened the doors and said, why don't you come back, do some loan review, and offered me the flexibility that I needed in order to help take care of my 3 kids and also continue with my career. I ended up making a decision to leave again for family reasons. I moved to Philadelphia at that time, and I ended up working for Phoenixville Federal Bank and Trust. I came into that bank as a credit officer, and I eventually became their chief credit officer. After a few years, another opportunity to move back to Pittsburgh, which of course, this is where family was, so that's where I wanted to be. So when I knew I was coming back to Pittsburgh, I once again reached out to Enterprise Bank. It's become a running joke that I've been back and forth working at Enterprise Bank. I reached out to Enterprise Bank and said, I'd love to come back to this organization. It had shown me loyalty throughout the years. It had provided a family, friendships, everything that I was looking for to continue along in my career. So I reached back out to Chuck Lai, and he once again said, I will open my arms to you and create a position at that time. So there was not a specific position here at the bank, but I had obviously a lot of experience, and I came back in as a relationship manager. That was in March of 2012. So when I came back to the bank, I worked for a couple months in that position, and I was lucky enough to be able to move into, or was offered the opportunity to work as the chief operating officer here at the bank. 9 years later, that is still what I'm doing. I think the moral of the story is, though, this bank has created a family for me. The culture here has been very family oriented throughout my life, and this organization has created that type of atmosphere for me throughout my life. I have been able to create great opportunities for my career, but I've also created great friendships. There are people here that I have worked with for over 25 years. We have somewhat grown up together. We have watched our kids grow. There's actually someone here who I still work with who I used to help drop off their child at preschool. And that young boy is now a father. So it has been a long road of developing, again, close relationships, close friendships. And the culture here was very family oriented back in 1999 when I started. It was a smaller organization at that point. It was a little easier to have that feel. As we've grown throughout the years, I can honestly say I still feel that same family that I felt back in 1999. I feel like everyone is looking out for each other. Again, I felt that care for me as a person. The times that I came back to work at this organization, when I've had to leave and when I've come back, I've always felt that same openness and care and friendship, family.
Thank you all for taking some time to meet our Enterprise Bank family. And for those of you that would like to join the extended family of our valued customers, please let us know. And thanks once again for being with us for Season 1 of Inside the Vault. To subscribe so that you don't miss out on the Season 2 episodes, which will be coming up soon, please join us on all the major podcast platforms. And if you have any specific questions or comments, please email us at insidethevault@enterprisebankpgh.com. Happy 4th of July and good luck in your business endeavors.